Hi everyone, this is the sequel video to my ranking of all the Legend of Zelda characters. If I can remember, I'll put a link in the description or somewhere on the screen to if you didn't watch that, if you want an idea of how I ranked over 150 characters. But this is just Tears of the Kingdom. There's not nearly as many characters to rank, and I'm also doing this lazy-ish tier list-wise, so this should go a lot quicker. Let's just get started. My criteria is mostly for characters, but I do take into account mechanics if the character has some of those involved, either through a side quest or just straight up through gameplay by being an assist character that you can have. Anyway, first, Blaria, I believe is her name. Wait. Let me name these tiers in a more interesting way first. Hold on. Okay, that looks a lot better. Let me see if it looks right. It kind of does. So, Blaria, I like her design a lot, but the game, Tears of the Kingdom specifically, didn't do a lot with her, so she kind of just goes in good. I don't remember if she assisted in the first, defense mini story event in Tears of the Kingdom. If she did, she wasn't very noticeable, but I like Balera's design, which is why she goes almost straight up into good, and her writing isn't that bad either, but she does lack a little bit of presence in the story, unfortunately, but not enough to not get into this tier list, apparently. I mostly fibbed this from someone else, so it's kind of strange that they put Baleria, but not like the Goron, that kids that are associated with, what's his name right here, or some other characters like that, but Baleria I like. She was in Breath of the Wild, and she didn't do much in that game either, but design-wise, it's good, and writing-wise, I don't feel anything, I don't feel that they screwed it up in such a way or something like that. She didn't get much to her, but, it was something. Here we have CeCe, I think is her name. Let's actually rate Reed, I believe is his name too. They both go into good. They're like very minor NPC characters, and they have one of the bigger side quests associated with him, but I don't think it's that big, personally. If it was actually just a little bigger, the side quest associated with him, and they also didn't do a cop-out ending where they both end up being like mayor for the town of Hateno or something like that, I would put them in great, because in relative to how they're minor characters and how much time you'd spend on them as characters, but they're good. Just would have been great if their side quest was bigger and had a less of a cop-out ending. That's all I want to say. Great Deu Tree, you are just mid. You are a plot disposal device. I don't really care much about him. Now, that being said, normally I would put Deu Tree in trash, but I did like the side quest associated with him better than whatever you did with him in Breath of the Wild. It's not that his writing's ever bad. In fact, I would say that Breath of the Wild, Great Deu Tree, which is this one too, was one of the better Deu Trees in the franchise, mostly because of what he does to help you if you try to pull the Master Sword out, but don't have enough hearts. He spares you in that one, but only once, even though he should spare you every single time. It's very weird. Okay, next we have Ganondorf. Both Ganondorfs. The regular Gerudo Ganondorf and the Demon King Ganondorf. We're gonna start with him. He's great. Design-wise, it's almost solely because of his design that he goes into great. He also has a good voice from Matt Mercer, and writing-wise, not too bad, but depth-wise, Nintendo clearly wants Ganondorf to always be their evil bad guy that you have to defeat in the end. Some people didn't like that. They wanted him to have more depth and even straight up be a good character. But they don't, people who want the Ganondorf to be a good character, they tend to not think about also what the final boss would be for the game, because they only think about it story-wise, not game-wise, so yeah, he has to be evil. I understand why Nintendo does that. I won't hold it against Nintendo for doing that with him. But they could have given him more depth. He just kind of feels like he wants to take power for himself just cause, right? Just cause. Speaking of which, Demon King Ganondorf, great design too, but not as good as regular Gerudo Ganondorf. I mostly put them here because his boss fight is great. But once you learn his pattern, it's almost exactly like this one. The biggest surprise Demon King Ganondorf does on you is that he also has the slowdown moves that he can pull against you. But once you have him figured out, he's not that strong. He doesn't deal enough damage, I feel. If he dealt more damage, as a final boss, it would be better. But if you spend the entire time just exploring everywhere and getting all the equipment and even level 2 upgrades for all the stuff you have equipped, He's very easy. He doesn't deal nearly as much damage as he should, but he is better than whatever they did with Calamity Ganon in Breath of the Wild, that's for sure. King Dorfon, it's kind of biased. I'll put him in great, mostly because I love his design as a King Zora. He's so much better than the jokes they used to pull on since King Zora of Ocarina of Time. But they don't do much more with him in Tears of the Kingdom. They do something with him, so that's good. And in fact, the fact they hide him so that you have to find him is actually a cool touch. But beyond the first time you meet him and get a scale from him, you don't really see him after that, except for when he passes down his title as king into Sidon, which we will see later. So he goes into the great tier, but honestly, if it wasn't for Bass, I would just put him in good. I don't remember your name. You're just kind of a mechanics dude, so you're just gonna go into kind of mid. Bolson, and I think his wife is there too. Yes, they're just kind of mid. Bolson specifically, I'd put into trash into the Breath of the Wild rankings. In fact, I think he was my worst ranked Breath of the Wild character. In the context of Tears of the Kingdom itself, he's not that bad. But if we were accounting for Breath of the Wild, he'd definitely go to trash anyway. But Tears of the Kingdom, specifically just Tears of the Kingdom, Bolson, he's just mid, not that special. Impa, I like the way they did Impa better in Tears of the Kingdom than the way they did her in Breath of the Wild. Her traveling around and you being able to interact with her sometimes, a lot better than her just staying in Kakariko and you having to go back to her to get your memories unlocked or something like that. It was a lot more charming and neat to see her going about and having retired as a chieftain of Kakariko. I don't remember your name, but you were pretty cute and not that bad, so I'll put you here. These two, they're just trash. Not overrated, just trash. They're basically the Tingles of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, respectively. I don't like either of them though compared to Tingle. Like I think even Wind Waker Tingle was better than these two, and Wind Waker Tingle was actively negative to the plot in a sense. But these two, I don't get a good vibe from them as a characters. They're too weird looking. I feel like their interest as being monster collectors or whatever. It feels kind of a joke, right? Like an off-putting one. I feel, because they kind of look weird too, as they are, so it doesn't work. Oh, the elf. I should have placed the elf here first. Link! Look, I know some people like to think of Link as a character, and they have evidence in Breath of the Wild with the memory dialogues in the original Japanese version, and I don't know if it's in the Tears of the Kingdom too, but I have to assume it's the same there as well. But the problem with open world games is that your protagonist can just kind of do anything they want and they don't get judged for it. Everyone just kind of assumes they're the same no matter what, unless it's a very, very good open world game. But in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom series, they just kind of assume Link's always a good guy. Even though Link can do some pretty horrific things out in the open, like murdering wildlife that isn't really harming him in any way. Not saying that I've done things like freezing a bunch of, like a herd of horses and trying to bomb them all at once or something like that, but you know, you can do that and no one calls you out for it as the Link. Like, to use examples of other open world games, the Horizon Zero Dawn games or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, if you've played either of those games or something similar, your character tends to talk a lot, and that's kind of annoying for some people. Some people don't like that. They point out what you're supposed to do or something like that, but it does give some personality to the character, even if it's not a lot because of the open world nature of the open world games. the fact that you can't have your character veer off too much in terms of personality or whatever, but it's still some personality, and they didn't even do that with Link. Like, all they have is the dialogue in the menus, and I can't even see those, and I don't even really care about those, so it's whatever. Master Koga, I'll put you in good. If Nintendo pulls the same crap with the third Breath of the Wild games, and you're still kind of a joke though, you're going into mid for sure. I really wish they'd do more with you in a more interesting way, because the Koga clan, in theory, should be much more interesting in the plot than they really are. Minu! She's... I want to put her in good, but She could have been awesome. You know what? Let's put it in great. But Minoru, like, this is a huge spoilers for the game, but I already talked about spoilers for the game anyway already, so let's just go into it and do one of the theories some people had in the beginning when the game had just come out. If Minoru had been a traitor to the sages back when they first fought Demon King Ganondorf in the past, that would have been awesome for Minoru's character. It would have been, like, people would have hated her quite a bit more, but it would have been awesome for her character as someone who, like, this is pure theory, right? But if Minoru had been someone who like thought differently from Ruru as to how to solve the issue about Demon King Ganondorf, and that maybe if we try to pacify him or take a deal that he has to coexist with him or something like that, like if she had been seduced by his power, not by his body or something like that, but seduced by his power, and she betrayed the other characters by not helping them as much or something like that, or straight up betraying them or whatever. And her atoning for it in the present by helping Link would have been a great character arc for her, and a great plot twist too. But Nintendo didn't do that because it was, I can see that it being too risky, right? It could make her like a complete trash character for a lot of people if she did that and it wasn't executed well. But if they had done that and done it even like decently, it would have made her an awesome character, like a real eye-opener of a character. But she's just in great because it's an interesting character to think about at the very least. Even though they could have done more with her, and I know it. But yeah, I would also put her in good too if you think it wasn't good enough for you. So she's kind of like lower grade tier, not quite on the same level as these three. You, King Dorphan's aide, you're just kind of mid. I don't really have much more to say about you. He was more interesting in Breath of the Wild, where he had like like he was more related to Mipha's backstory and stuff. So in Breath of the Wild, he'd be good. In Tears of the Kingdom, I don't even know why they kept him. There's not much use to him. Paya, you're good. I didn't really like you in. I didn't like Paya a lot in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears of the Kingdom, she's not too terribly interesting, but she's also not as annoying portrayal-wise as she was in Breath of the Wild. She's just kind of good. Not bad, not great, but not trash like I thought almost she kind of was. She was actually overrated in Breath of the Wild, I would say. But I do think they could have done one more with her. She should have been a bit more associated with the side quests. I don't think she has many side quests that showed it at all in Tears of the Kingdom. That's kind of disappointing. Let's do Robbie Rodden first. He's good. I think they could have done more with him, but he has some side quests, and he does introduce you to the depths, and that alone puts him in good. He could have been great if they had done a little more with him and not make him solely for upgrades to the tablet or whatever. Pura! I made overrated tier specifically for Pura. But if we were to just if we were to ignore the internet for a second, she'd just be kind of mid. She's part of the main quest, but she does barely anything. She does barely anything. The most excited you get for her is when she gives you the thing that allows you to fly. What's it called? Parachute, whatever. The glider. Once she gives you that, that's the most excited you get for talking with her. After that, she just kind of stands in that outpost right in front of Hyrule Castle, and you talk to her a couple of times, but she doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't feel like she does anything. She just kind of like tries to gather everyone together, but even then, I feel she was kind of pointless for that. So I had to stop an ad right there. You guys probably wouldn't hear it anyway, but so yeah, Pura is overrated because the internet loves her, and I don't know why. They overrate her, and most of it is because they're thirsty for her. But you know what? Speaking of big characters people are thirsty for, Ruru. Ruru is good. Not as good as Minoru. It's not that he's not as interesting. He's actually quite interesting. But Nintendo, the way they've written the plot, they kind of shoveled down like how good, like how complex Ruru could have been as a character. He kind of just becomes the tyrant of all of Hyrule and the provinces around it by making them all subservient to him. It's kind of subtly brought up in one of the cutscenes in the past. But the game just kind of makes it pretend like, oh, he's the ultimate good, so it's fine for him to become the ruler of all the land and all the provinces. And that's not great. That's not great writing. He also kind of botches up everything for his wife and all of that, and because of that, he's just kind of good. He's not as written as well as people like to pretend he is. At least that's the way I feel. I won't pretend I'm right for everything. Let's skip ahead. Let's skip Riju and go to Sonia right now, because Sonia is actually great. We don't get many mom-like characters in this franchise, and she's got a dark skin too. We don't see that often as well, and she's basically Zelda's mom in the past, and you get a lot of scenes with her, and she acts the part quite well given what she's supposed to do. She kind of gets bodied by a Ganon in a very dumb way. I'm still not sure what happened. The people say she got stabbed. I personally think she got Warlock punched in the back. Doesn't really matter. Ganondorf just basically murders her very suddenly. And barring that final scene in the ending, she never comes back beyond that. No final spiritual messages or something like that. So it's very sudden the way she dies. So that's great for portraying her character, not botching it like they kind of did with Ruru. Can kind of exist as a spirit and as an arm for thousands of years, and that never is explained. But I guess the Zonai are very special creatures who can do that. Like, it made more sense for Minu because like she specifically had to create machines to preserve her spirit, right? With Ruru, I'm not even sure what explanation for him still existing is. And well, Sonia, well, it's just the ending, and the ending. I think a lot of people would like prefer the ending to not revert Link losing his arm and the other thing, you know. you know. Riju is good. No, she's great. She's great. I still like Riju a lot. I think I preferred her a bit more in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears of the Kingdom, she's still pretty good. Just she has, like, it makes sense obviously that she has a less childish side to her in secret because she's older. But I do think mechanically is why she's not. Like, specifically mechanics, why she's not in the Awesome, because her ability is kind of annoying to activate, even though it's satisfying to land. Because you have to wait for the barrier to expand, and it's kind of slow. Sidon suffers from the same issue. He's still great, but not as awesome as he was in Breath of the Wild, because his ability just isn't mechanically as satisfying as it could be. In fact, the shield is kind of mid. Very mid, in fact. But he's still a great character and fun to see. Let's skip ahead to his wife, actually. I cannot remember her name. She's trash. No, actually, she's just mid. But I'm positive that Nintendo created this character solely to sync Sidon and Link as a pairing. Not that it was ever a real thing in the text, but people liked reading into the subtext a bit too much, and so they created this character solely to say, no, he's straight. But there's, ignoring that, there are some interesting brought up by this character. I really need to look her name up. Hold on. Yona. You know, Yona. So Yona brings up interesting things about the Zora, about how there's other species beyond Hyrule. And that, if they had delved into that more, she would have been here. But they didn't. It's her writing, like, she does have some cute lines, and she does have a scene where she brings Sidon back from depression, even though he didn't look that depressed, but I guess she sees something in him that we don't. But her writing just doesn't save her from being mid, but it does save her from being trash. Because if she was there was not much more to her than just being Sidon's fiance, she'd just be trash. It'd be so 100% clear that they just created her to make Sidon not be able to be paired up with Link or something like that. So that's unfortunate for her, but the sins of the father do not fall upon the child. Her writing, the writers worked with what they had to make her not that bad. And yeah, she's not that bad, she's just kind of mid. Toro. I love Toro. He's awesome. Like, relative to how much you expect from him, I think they did a great job. He's fun to see. He's like, he's imposing, but he's got such a soft voice. I love listening to his voice, even though it's just gasps and whatever. But his soft voice and yet his imposing stature, and him being such a nerd for exploring the ruins, I really love that. I do think they could have done a bit more with him, but I do love the one side quest you do have with him alone, and how exciting it is to uncover the Thundercloud with a bit of his help. So I do put him in awesome, just because I think they made him really good in that sense, right? I can't barely think of any flaws, is why I put him in awesome up here. Teba, and you're They did nothing with him. He's useless. He was already mid in Breath of the Wild. I kind of want to put him like not an overrated, but a tier between overrated and mid because they did nothing with him, and then they created Tolan, and Tolan is awesome. Sorry, Teba, they just didn't do anything with you. They just got rid of the older chieftain of Rito Village and made him the chieftain. It's like okay, but even in that context, you don't see much of him in Tears of the Kingdom except being a stern father who's trying to teach Tolan a lesson. But you spend a lot of time with Tolan, and Tolan's very fun. And Tolan's ability is awesome. And like some people have trouble with Tolan's ability when they're on the ground and when they activate the gust of wind and push everything together like away that they're trying to pick up. I think that's just a skill issue. It never happened to me. So yeah, Tolan's awesome. Get lots of character with him, and he's very fun and cute. And I love my baby boy. It's actually his baby boy, but you know. Teba, they just did nothing with him. They did nothing with him, and at least he's top tier in Age of Calamity, I guess. We're gonna skip Zelda for now. Oh, Pen was not in the original tier list, by the way. I don't know why. Pen. He's great. I love seeing him, but not as good as Cass. Cass is not in this tier because he's not in Tears of the Kingdom because Nintendo said there would be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. I waited months, which is why I haven't done this tier list before that. I have to take their word for it. They actually meant what they said. There's no freaking DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. No Master Quest. No additional plot. It's a shame, I feel. But if they don't want our money and they delivered a complete product straight from the get-go, I can respect that. But you know, it's something. I don't even want to bother remembering this guy's name. I didn't like him a lot in Breath of the Wild. He is better in this game, but he's still kind of mid. Like, I feel they should have done more with him being possessed and, him... He just completely reversed back to his, not completely back to his Breath of the Wild personality, but very much his Breath of the Wild personality. Now, that being said, mechanically, he's very satisfying to use. But, personality-wise, I just don't care much for, now I have to look up his name. Unobo! Yona and Unobo. They should be together for their names being kind of like And finally we have Zelda. Zelda is just awesome. I should put her at the top actually. But yeah, Zelda, it's not my favorite Zelda of the entire franchise, but it is an awesome portrayal of Zelda that very much makes her a lot more interesting and fun to not fun, but just interesting and just interesting, right? She's just amazingly interesting compared to how she was in Breath of the Wild. In Tears of the Kingdom, her whole plot that happens in the flashbacks is just so much more heart-wrenching to watch. You know, assuming you watch in the good order and not see the ending right in the beginning. But it's super cool that they did this with Zelda. The only thing holding her back from being like a tier higher is, well, it's two things, right? One, it's the fact that they cop out on her fate in the ending. I get why they did that. Personally, I would have preferred if they didn't, because that would have been a finale for the franchise. But the other thing is that if they did a DLC where you played as Zelda in the past, she would shoot up an entire tier above. You know, assuming they didn't screw it up. But yeah, Zelda's and Sonia's relation past, which I feel is quite important. This entire scene, specifically for it, is done much better than Roru's relation to Zelda, which I feel was a lot less familial. Like, I feel they went like oil and water, Roru. He didn't quite believe her the way he should have, Roru. If he had, I feel it would have been a lot better. Meanwhile, Sonia was thwarting Ganondorf with Zelda. Where was Roru when that was happening? Hello? So it feels like Sonia was a lot closer with Zelda than Roru was with Zelda. Even though they weren't that far apart, but compared to Zelda and Sonia, it was like a night and day. And obviously, the ending to Zelda's character arc in the flashback is also, again, very heart-wrenching and cool. But yeah, that's the list. I think I wouldn't change much, except perhaps creating like extra tiers. But we got 7 tiers already, and I think that's a little too much. What do you think? Where would you place some characters? Or if you would change some characters into trash or kind of mid? What's your bias? Some people, like, I have to admit that putting Toro up here is kind of like thirst bias to some people. Not for me specifically, but I do love his design, so I guess there is some thirst involved in it. The other thing, though, is that Like, some people would thirst for, say, oh, her. Yeah, the overrated one. Lots of people thirst for Pura, but looking at her character, ignoring all the thirst, I don't feel they did a lot. She's just kind of mid. So, but she goes into overrated because for whatever reason, lots of people think she's a lot better than she is. I don't agree at all. So, speaking of overrated, who do you think would go into overrated in the here? Which character do you think the internet made too overrated? Ganondorf? I could see some people think Ganondorf is overrated. But yeah, like, subscribe, whatever, the YouTube stuff as usual. Hope you've all enjoyed the video and having a stay. I kind of want to do this more because it's very relaxing. I think I'll do Splatoon next time. Splatoon characters. What do you think? Splatoon next? I could do something else, like a different franchise if you want. Because I already did all the characters, but I could, like, I did all the minor characters, right, in the previous video, the ranking video. I could do, like, main characters of the Zelda franchise afterwards, too, instead of Splatoon. I guess we'll see. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed the video today. Bye-bye!